Hello, welcome to the home of the Ghost Owl, and we've been playing Dune Awakening now for about 300 hours. I think it's like 296 hours. We have managed to get 2 characters on public servers here. We've got one at level 168, one at level 145, and we have another character, which is our main character, which we play on a private server, which is a level 172. And I thought, now's the time where I would be able to go back and share some of that knowledge and experience that I'd gained after playing through 3 different characters, taking them all the way through the different regions, and provide just some hints and tips, things I wished I knew when I started the game. And so if you're a beginner, you're looking to get into the game, you're interested in the game, and you're kind of thinking, oh, what's it about? How do some of the things work? Then here are 20 things that I came up with that I thought, do you know what? These would be really good things to know. They'd have really helped me get into the game. The game, particularly solo, can be long, can be grindy. So having just a few things that kind of show you the way, show you an easier path, can make all the difference. So strap yourselves in. Here we go. Rapid fire. 20 things that I wish I knew before I'd started the game. Okay, first up is you start the game and suddenly you're thrust upon you with choice. Which class to pick? And of which there are 5. You've got your Trooper, your Mentat, your Planetologist, your Bene Gesserit, and your Swordmaster. Which class to pick? It doesn't matter, because unlike a lot of games, you're not stuck in that class. All they are is essentially they are horizontal path of skill trees, right? So you can pick, as you can see here, any of the skills from any of the trees as you progress and level through the game. However, if I was to recommend a starting class, I would pick Bene Gesserit or Swordmaster. The way that you unlock the trees in the game is you have to find trainers, complete tasks for them, unlock them. The Bene Gesserit and Swordmaster trainers are the last ones you will encounter. You will encounter the Trooper and Planetologist incredibly quickly. So by picking the Bene Gesserit or the Swordmaster, you'll get access to their at least level 1 version of their skills very, very quickly. Personally, I like the Bene Gesserit as a starting one. She's got a pretty good traversal skill with the Bindu Sprint, and then she's got some of the things early on that can help your survivability, along with sun tolerance and some health stuff. So Bene Gesserit would be where I'd start, but in reality, doesn't matter, pick what you want. Okay, next tip, base location, size, and so on. So in terms of base size, when you're starting the game, I don't recommend going really big. Build the minimum size you need, expand it as you go, as you need. Otherwise, you'll spend a lot of time farming resources for a base that you're probably going to end up moving. In fact, you will end up moving. I don't recommend building a giant base until you get right into the end game, till you've opened up the whole of Haga Basin and you know where you want to put it, and you can see where other people have got theirs, and you can see my base there in front. In terms of base locations, yes, you want to pick your location based upon resources. Now, you're not always going to know where those resources are, but I do recommend you're going to find your trade post pretty quickly. Being close to the trade post as you progress through Haga Basin. You've got another trade post up here, another trade post over here. But certainly for me, when you start off, Griffin's Reach, and then up to Anvil, and even what became my main base is still my outpost base. Those locations, being close to those, absolutely brilliant. You've got traders, trainers, flight people that can take you to the cities before you get your Ornithopter, and contract boards. So in terms of locations, I would recommend going near the trade posts. Also, in terms of if you want to do a big base build, you need to put expanders out, right? You start with your base sub-fief, and then you have to get these expanders horizontal and vertical. The horizontal ones are easy. They basically just add another block to the left, to the right, front or back. Be careful with the vertical ones. They work in a weird way. Rather than just adding another layer above, they actually increase the size up and down. So if you want to build high, you're going to have to almost have your subfief in the middle of where you want to be in terms of height, and then you add the vertical, and it will add some above and some below. Bit of a pain, but bear that in mind when you're doing your vertical one. Also, don't pick a base just because there's a bunch of iron ore rocks out the side, or there's fuel cells out the side, because every week there's a Coriolis storm, and all the resource nodes, well, they'll still be in the area, will get moved around. So don't think just because you've got fuel cells out your front door that it'll be there in a week. Next up, let's talk intel. So research. You gather intel as you could progress through the game. Here's your number up here. So you gather intel from strongholds. Every time you survey an area, you'll see the strongholds on the map. The strongholds look like this. You'll see them, Quarterhouse, and it'll say intel underneath, and you'll gain various amounts of intel from them. However, I do not recommend spending all the intel as you pick it up. Only unlock the things you need as and when you need them. You gain intel from strongholds, and you gain intel from leveling up. Only to the level of 130, and then you stop getting that extra intel. You will not find enough intel from your leveling up and from Hagar Basin alone to unlock everything, so particularly when you're getting down into the bottom tiers of Duralumin and Plastinium, you really want to unlock the things you want to unlock. So if you come down here and you look at weapons, for example, only unlock the weapons you want to, only unlock the items you want as you need them. Otherwise you will find yourself running out of intel. You can unlock everything, but you will need to get intel from the deep desert at that point. So you will have to go to the deep desert if you do want to unlock everything to get those remaining bits of intel. Okay, next up, let's talk about the worm meter. So as you move out onto the sand, whether it's vehicle, on foot, or anything, you will see a worm meter appear just above where your skills are. You can see it there. It's yellow. When it's yellow like that, perfectly fine. As you do more things, it will go up and go to orange, and then finally red. There you go, it's gone red. As soon as it goes red, you must get to safety. Right? Safety means getting to rocky hard places. You can't be touched when you're on rocky hard places. When it goes red, he will come for you, and you cannot outrun the worm, whether you're on a bike, a buggy, or anything like that. He will not outrun you. So you will not outrun him. The other thing to think about is there are certain things that you have that can attract the worm. So as you can see now, we're just yellow, right, on the sand. As soon as I put my shield on, it goes red and attracts the worm. If you use your suspenser belt, it goes orange and attracts the worm. So you need to be careful when you're gathering flower sand, looting wrecks. Make sure your shield is off when you're jumping on wrecks. Try not to use your suspenser belt, or use it as little as possible. You can get things which reduce it. If you look at your item here, you can see down the bottom there, worm attraction intensity extreme. So bear in mind, if you're on the sand, turn off your shield. Do not use your suspenser belt, or use it as little as you need when doing wrecks. Next up, sand types. Two different types of sand that you need to be aware of in terms of that will catch you out. The first one being these ones which you find in the Vermillus Gap area. You can see them circles with dots in. That is drum sand. If you run on that or drive on that, essentially worm attraction, it makes vibration. The worm attraction meter will go red. You need to get out of there really quickly. Be aware, some wrecks and flower sand that you want to go gather or loot can end up on drum sand, so make sure you check your map beforehand. Second type of sand you need to watch out for is quicksand, denoted by the lines going across these red areas. If you drive into quicksand, 9 times out of 10, you are going to die. At the very least, you will lose your vehicle. So you drive your vehicle in. If you just touch the edge, you can probably get out, but most of the time if you go in it, your vehicle will get stuck. It will start to sink. You might be able to jump out of there, but most of the time, particularly if the worm's chasing you, the worm will catch you in there and you'll die, but you'll definitely lose your vehicle and everything in it. So quicksand, avoid it. Best way to avoid it is, if you do want to cross anywhere near it, is use your personal marker, put it in the middle, drive to that personal marker, and you know you've always got a safe spot. So if you are getting chased by the worm, you are getting panicked, just head to that. You know you'll be safe. Okay, let's talk about contracts, class missions, faction missions and everything else. So you can see them here. You go into the journey tab and then you click on the fountain pen icon, and you can see here you've got faction missions denoted by the faction symbols, you've got contracts, which are these generic ones, and then you've got class missions, so you can see denoted trooper, planetologist, and so on. There is no specific order in which you need to complete these. You can do them in any way that you want. The same with the main story mission stuff, which is here as well. So you can do it in any order you want. However, I strongly recommend doing the class missions first, or as quickly as you can. Obviously, you'll unlock new levels of skills for each of the classes, and you can then move on to do other things. I then recommend doing the faction missions and then the main story and then the contracts last. However, early in the game, sometimes it can be good to do the early contracts just for the items that you'll get from them. However, make sure that you read the words on the contracts. The main reason is some of them will tell you you need to bring a hand scanner, for example. How many times, certainly I've gone there, I haven't read the contract and I needed a hand scanner. So then I have to go all the way back to the base, pick up the hand scanner, go back out and do the contract. So do read the words in the contracts and the missions. There is important information there of stuff you might need to bring with you. Okay, next up are the Trials of Acle. You will see them appear in your journey here, which is Find the Fremen. And in terms of the map, you will see them as these purple cave icons. There are 8 Trials of Acle to do. It's very easy to go, do you know what, there's no order of doing these things, I'm just going to skip them. Do the Trials of Acle as soon as you can, and as soon as you find them. They do unlock significant things. I'm not going to spoil it, but they do unlock significant things, and I strongly recommend that you try and get through all 8 Trials of Acle as soon as you are able to, and certainly as soon as you see them on the map, go and do them, and you won't regret doing it. Next up is the skill tree. So we've talked a bit about the fact there are 5 classes. So skill trees, you can have access to all the skill trees, and then you've got the capstone skill at the top. Bearing in mind, there are 3 types of items on your skill tree. You have the diamond shape. These are abilities. You can only have 3 of them, and they appear here, and they are active abilities, thing that you actually have to press the button to make an effect happen. Next up are techniques. These are in the hexagonal shape, as you can see here. You can only have 3 of those. Those are essentially passive benefits. And then thirdly, you have the smaller circles, which are you can unlock them all, and you only have to have unlocked them and got points in them for them to be acting as passive benefits. Also, you can respec your skill tree for free once every 48 hours, completely free, complete respec, 100%. So don't worry if you've got points in the wrong place. There are certain class missions that will require you to have certain abilities, so you might have to either respec for those, or once you've done all your class missions, you'll be able to respec and have only the points and the things you want. There are not enough points, even by the time you reach maximum level, to be able to have every single skill unlocked in the tree at max level. So you do have to pick and choose the things you want. Next up, something that can be really, really useful when you're manufacturing lots of items are circuits. So if you go onto your machinery, you can go to storage. Here you can see circuit 1 and circuit 3, for example. So the input here is circuit 1. It will take all the items from storage areas that are on circuit 1 for an output. So input here, circuit 1, output on the left, input on the left, circuit 1, output on the right, circuit 3. So basically what that means is, if I then come to a storage, and you can see here this storage has circuit 3, when the storage of the machine fills up, it will output all of the excess items to the storage box, which has an input of circuit 3. So basically it means that you can tell your machine where to put those excess items, so they're in the box you want. If you don't do that and you leave everything on circuit 1, when the machine runs out of storage space for what it's making, and it's particularly prevalent with things like fuel, like this lubricant here, it will end up going to random storages all over your base and you won't know where it is. So I strongly recommend, for things like these chemical refineries where you're making lots of like fuel, cobalt paste and battery stuff like that, make sure you use a circuit system. You'll find it so much easier, particularly as you get to mid to late game, big bases, lots of storage areas. Trying to find stuff will be a real nightmare if you don't start to use a circuit system. You don't need it on everything, but certainly things like chemical refineries or output can be incredibly useful. Okay, we're all the way up to tip 10. So base maintenance, so taxes and fuel, critical. Easiest way to manage it. Yes, you can go to the individual generators and fill them with fuel, but if you come to your subfief console and you click use, everything you need to know is here. So you can see how much power you've got and how many days it will last until you power down. It will also tell you storm alerts, and it will tell you taxes. If you run out of power, not only can you not use your machinery, but your entire base shields shut down, and if a sandstorm comes along, your building will start to be damaged. Any vehicles in the open or in areas where there were pentashields, the pentashields will be down. Those vehicles will take a lot of damage. So you do need to make sure that your base is permanently powered. Also, you do need to make sure you pay your taxes. It tells you when the taxes are due, how long you've got, and then it will tell you if they're overdue. If you don't pay your taxes, again, you risk losing your base. So make sure you do that. Bear in mind, if you're using a basic subfief console, there is no tax. If you're using the advanced subfief console, you will start to need taxes. If you use base expanders, your taxes will go up. So when you use the maximum base expanders, you're going to be paying the maximum amount of taxes. To pay your taxes, if you don't have an ornithopter, you need to go to a trade post and you need to get the ornithopter pilot to fly you to Harco Village or Arrakis. You find the Imperial tax place and you can go and pay your taxes there. One thing I do recommend is, as you progress through the game, you're going to end up with lots of excess Solari. Make sure you take a lot of that excess Solari with you to Arrakis or Harco Village. Pay it into the bank. Leave it in the bank there, because then you pay your tax in the same location. So if you do find yourself needing to pay taxes, you don't have to make sure you've got Solari with you. You can just nip to the bank, withdraw what you need, and pay your taxes. So make sure you do bank that Solari. But make sure you power your bases. Make sure you pay your taxes. Now, a quick, easy way to evenly power your bases, and I didn't know this right at the beginning, is there is a button here. It says refuel generators. If you have a bunch of fuel in your storage all around your base, what you can do is you can press and hold the Y button, and it will refuel your generators evenly across the entire base and will give them the maximum amount of fuel. So here you can see we refueled every single generator we have, and now the base will not power down for 20 days and 20 hours. Really useful thing. Refuel generators, refuels everything, saves you a whole heap of time of messing with what generator has what. It really does help, though, to try and make sure they're as even as possible when you start. Try and keep the fuel in your generators even, or you might run into issues of not knowing when things are going to power down. Okay, next thing to talk about is items. As you go through the game, you're going to go through testing stations, you're going to kill bad guys, and you're going to loot items, whether it's gear, weapons, or even vehicle parts. Now, early in the game, you're obviously struggling for materials like plasteel, microfiber, and so on. So it's quite easy to get in the habit of, when you get back to your base, you take all this stuff, you take it to the recycler, and you melt it all down because I need those materials. However, bear in mind that as you progress through the game, you're going to start to pick up things like slaver gear, higher level weapons. It is actually worth, in a lot of cases, coming back and repairing those items. They do last a reasonable amount of time, and they do give you that instant boost, whether it's for your gear or weapons. But even more than that is the vehicle parts. There are a number of Imperial testing stations, for example, and you'll see that on some of the playthroughs I've got of the testing stations, where we pick up vehicle parts, particularly buggy parts, and then later on ornithopter parts. Vehicles are some of the most resource intensive things in the game to get to. So if you look at your first buggy here and you come down and you go, oh, I need to build the chassis, you need your steel ingots, you need your advanced servox, you need the cobalt paste. Well, you've got to go and farm all that, make all that. You can actually pick up treads, engines, PSUs, and you can use them straight away. Just go back, repair them, and they will last a decent while. You'll get your buggy up and running so much quicker, and once you've got that buggy, you can then go out and start farming materials. You can get that ornithopter airborne much quicker, and that will change the game. And yes, the stuff isn't going to last as long, but it will last long enough for you to get the benefit from it. So you can even see in my inventory here, we've got our full suspensor belt. It's got the damage, but that still lasts a decent amount of time, and I can keep repairing it for a long time before that durability goes down. You don't need many materials to repair these things, so don't get into the habit of, when you get loot, coming back and melting it all down, particularly with the vehicles, but also if you start to see a piece of gear that's better than what you've got, it is worth repairing and equipping. Okay, next let's talk about vehicles. First thing is how you can use vehicles to help you move items around your base. So if we come to our storage container here, some of the stuff can be very heavy and it's difficult. You can't get it all in your inventory. You want to put it in another box or you want to put it somewhere else. One of the things you can do is you can use your vehicle storage to put things in. So I can, up the top here, you can click on the drop down menu, check where you want it to go. So we go buggy, I can take these 500 items and I can put them in there, and I can take this in there, and you can add them all in, and you can carry, you can see you've got the maximum volume of the buggy. I can then go to another storage box that I might want to put these items in, and I can do exactly the same thing. Click on a storage box, select the buggy, and then I can move those items back into the storage. So you can actually use your vehicle storage to move things around your base that would normally be too heavy for you to do, other than doing it many, many times. The other thing is the vehicle backup tool. Always have this with you. It's incredibly useful. There's no reason for you to leave your sandbike or ornithopter out, but you can only use it on a scout ornithopter and a sandbike. But there are times when you're out there that you might be in a buggy, which means you can't use a vehicle backup tool. Well, maybe you want to take a sandbike, for example, with you in your backup tool, or a scout ornithopter, so you can use it to pull out vehicles. You can only store one vehicle at a time, but an incredibly useful tool. And the final thing is repairing of vehicles. I really strongly recommend picking up the vehicle repair passive in the planetologist tree. Vehicles are massively resource intensive, so anything you can do to prolong the durability of those components. One of the biggest ones is buggy treads and ornithopter wings. They do lose durability pretty quickly, so anything you can do to prolong that, incredibly useful. So don't forget about that one. Okay, the next thing we're going to look at is environmental conditions, in particular radiation. So you can see here on the ground, you can see this sort of like green hazy stuff. That denotes radiation. You can find that in the shale. You can see it's gone this sort of greeny colour. You can find it in shipwrecks and certain areas of the game. There's even some in the Vermilius Gap. Radiation is a major problem, and you can see on the bottom of the screen now, you can see there is a little radiation symbol, and that will start to tick up. Now, you will often have to come here, whether it's for missions or whether to farm materials. So if we come here, we're going to farm some jasmium from this pool. We have to come here to get the final tier of Haga Basin gear, which is the tier 5 gear. To do that, you're going to need a radiation suit, which is one of these. You're going to start off with the Mark IV and then go to the Mark V. There's not much difference in terms of the radiation increase between the Mark IV and 5, but there is armor difference. But you can see the radiation is going up pretty quickly. The first thing you can do, once you've got at least one duraluminum ingot, is you can use iodine pills, right? That's it says radiation mitigation plus 3%. This massively slows down the rate at which you gain radiation, right? And you can see you've now got a green symbol just to the right of your abilities. The other thing you can do is you can press and hold down the T button. If you do that, it brings up your status, your shield, power, where it is, heat protection, your spice, but also you can see their radiation. If the radiation does reach 150,000, you will instantly die. The other thing to think about is when you're farming this stuff, if you stay on the rock, like this, it's absolutely fine, right? The radiation is as normal. The problem is you can't always reach everything like that. If you go into this pool here, you will see the radiation ticks up much, much faster. So you want to avoid being in those pools as much as possible, but you want to farm jasmium from the pools because that's the best place to do so. With that status that you have from the radiation by pressing and holding the T button, you can also see things like if it's fire or poison as well, though the fire and poison doesn't give you the instant death. What it does is it essentially ticks your health down. But most of the time you can avoid fire and poison by using a static compactor in the game to avoid it. But yeah, radiation will instantly kill you. The best way to find out what's going on, press and hold that T button. There you go. You can see we're at 77,000 of 150. But if you reach 150, it will kill you. Do get the Mark V radiation suit when you can. But most importantly is the iodine pills. Go and farm the agave seeds up in the Udon region and then get at least one duraluminum ingot, come back and you'll be able to start making them. They do come in batches of 5, so you can get quite a few iodine pills that way. Okay, next up is there's a lot of items in the game. You're always struggling for space, whether it's on the hotbar or in your inventory, but there are always some things that I recommend or strongly recommend that you always have in your bag, and that's through experience of not having it when I needed it. So, other than the obvious ones of making sure that you have heal kits and ammunition, I always recommend carrying a Litajon, because water can creep up on you and that, hydration issues creep up on you really quickly. Just having a couple of drops of water in your Litajon can really save you. I also, if you've got some of the bigger Litajons, I never have them completely full. The reason is because I can then take out the scythe and go and harvest dew to put in the Litajon. The other thing I recommend always having with you is a hand scanner. When I first was playing the game, I did not realise the best usage of the hand scanner or how often I would use it. Initially, you just think it's for finding treasure in the sand. Actually, it's incredibly useful when you're in wrecks, it's dark, or you're looking for hidden things, or you're looking for items or keys. It's incredibly important if you're looking for agave seeds. They show up much easier by using the hand scanner. And also, some missions will require you to have the hand scanner. So if it's always in your bag, you're never going to forget it, and it is incredibly useful. So always have a hand scanner. The other thing is a static compactor. You never know when you might run across a small spice field in Haga Basin, which you can harvest some spice from, flower sand, which you can harvest, but also when you're in wrecks, when you're doing missions and things like that, you can use that static compactor to get rid of fire on the floor, poison on the floor. Incredibly useful and can help speed up as you progress through. So always make sure you've got those. The other thing when you unlock it as well is having a still tent. The amount of times I've either come off the world map back into Haga Basin and there's a sandstorm about to hit, or I've come out of an industrial, one of the lab complexes, or come out of somewhere like a Trial of Ackle and there's been a sandstorm going on, or just flying around and haven't been paying attention and suddenly there's a sandstorm. You get in your Ornithopter or your sand bike, immediately shove that in your backpack, get the still tent out, and that still tent will save you. And also you can get some water back while you're in it. But always carrying the still tent. Yes, you can look for rocky ledges and other things to hide under to get sheltered, because as long as you're sheltered, you won't take damage, and then you've got enclosed on top of that. But if you can find shelter, you won't take damage. If you take the still tent, it just makes things much easier. Like I said, if you're flying around in that Scout-Thopter or the sand bike, then you can just shove that in your backup tool as well. Makes things incredibly easy, and you can just stop exactly where you are. Sandstorms will kill you, and they will wreck your vehicles. So always have those items in your backpack, and you won't be going wrong. Next up are the armor differences. So there are two main types of armor in the game. You can see that when you go through the research on pretty much every tier from Iron onwards. You'll see heavy armor and scout armor all the way through to the bottom tiers. Personally, as a ranged person, I prefer heavy armor, and I'd recommend if you're going down the Swordmaster or close combat route, you'll want the scout armor. Do you pay attention to it, because you can see here the armor values, but also those mitigations. As you can see there, blade mitigation -8%, whereas if you are on the scout armor, you get better blade mitigation, but less on the ranged. You can also see the heat protection. So it is really, really worth checking out what armor you want and what armor suits what you're trying to do. The big downside to heavy armor is if you dash, as in you want to dash out of a stun or you want to dash away from a melee enemy, it does cost a lot of stamina. So if you are stacking heavy armor, stamina will be a problem. The other thing is, don't underestimate the unique ones. This here is an aluminum tier item, which is actually better than the duraluminum tier. So I think I can't remember which tier it is in terms of aluminum. Let's have a look. So if you get here, aluminum here, it's this Dune Man armor. So this armor, the unique version, the Sentinel, is better than the next level up, right? So the unique items can be really, really good. Definitely worth checking the stats on them to see what you want. So understanding the armor. If you're going to do anything that doesn't involve combat or just involves light combat with camps, whether it's farming, base building, or whatever it is, there's no reason not to use a still suit. And as you go through the game, some of the later still suits have got reasonable armor, though not a crazy amount. So do take into account when you should be wearing a still suit, when you shouldn't. And then, of course, the final bit of armor that you can wear is the radiation suit. As you go up through the marks, they do get better and better armor, but they don't have the mitigations, and you'll be fighting some of the higher tier enemies. They will wreck you very, very quickly. So try to avoid combat while you're in your radiation suit as much as possible. Okay, next one is crash ships. Every so often you'll hear a loud bang, and potentially you'll see a ship crashing through the atmosphere and crashing into the sand. Don't have one available to show you right this second, but essentially you'll see a cylindrical, almost shaped piece of wreckage on the ground. There are 3 locations, one on each side, where you use your cut array to scan and cut away a panel. You can then loot those panels, and then there's one on top. The smallest panel on the side, because one side is small, one side is bigger, the one which is smaller nearly always has a blueprint in it. The higher tier area you're in, the better the loot will be. The best, of course, being in the deep desert. So, crash ships, definitely worth doing, though bear in mind, eventually a sandworm will come out the ground and eat the crash ship, and if you're using your shield or suspenser belt, you will attract that worm quicker. But crash ships, really great source of loot, particularly for things like complex machinery as well. You get plenty of that there. So don't bypass those crash ships. It's very easy to manage. Just keep an eye on that worm meter. Next up is Arrakis and Harco Village. These are essentially 2 social hubs. You can access them in one of 2 ways. You can go to a trade post, talk to an ornithopter pilot there, and it will charge you about 2,500 Solari to fly. So early game, you want to be doing it as little as possible, but you will need to go there to pay your taxes, for example. But also, what else do you find there? You will find the advanced trainers for the Trooper, Mentat, Bene Gesserit, and Swordmaster. So once you've done the basic missions, the advanced trainers are located in those areas. They're social hubs, so you'll get to see players who are part of your entire world server. And also, there are unique vendors. There's the bank where you can store items. So potentially, always worth storing Solari. But if you've got some important items or blueprints or something, for example, you might not want to leave in your base for whatever reason, then you can put items in the bank there. So definitely recommend visit. Don't leave it too long to visit them. I reckon when I was playing through, I left it too long to go to that ornithopter pilot and fly to Arrakis and Harco Village. Some useful things there. Definitely don't avoid it. And useful stuff on the vendor, particularly if you're looking for special materials. You can find most non-deep desert materials there. Now, I don't recommend buying raw materials unless I just need one more, like I've got 7 of these things and I need 8, and to go and farm it's a real pain, so go and buy one more. Most of the time you can find those in Arrakis or Harco Village, but don't leave it too long. Go there, check it out. They're pretty good, and there's lots of things there, and particularly for those advanced trainers, because that will make a big difference. Okay, next up is being aware of our surroundings. So if you look at the compass at the top of the screen right now in the middle, you'll see it has a yellow line above it. That basically means that we're in a PvE area, so there is no PvP. You cannot be attacked in these areas, your stuff cannot be destroyed. That applies to 90% of Haga Basin, and it applies to half of the deep desert. Now, you can see that all the wrecks, other than the one in the very starting area of Haga Basin, are PvP. So, being aware of your surroundings, and when you're in the deep desert, the same, is that as you come close to the area of the wrecks, what you will see at the top of the screen here, zone change. And it will count down, and you can see it goes red. That bar is at the top, is red, War of Assassins. You are now flagged for PvP. You can be attacked, shot, and everything else. Now bear in mind that when you want to leave that area, so if you do straight into it by mistake, that it will take a long time for you to get out of that area. So one, it's got a pretty good radius, and it's 30 seconds now for it to change from being flagged for PvP. So if you do, particularly the deep desert, if you do cross into a PvP area, you're going to have to wait 30 seconds for that flag to come off. So yellow, PvE, red, PvP. Now there is a third one, which we're going to go and look at now when we get there, which is essentially you can't do anything in these areas. So we're going to fly to the Atreides fortress here in Haga Basin. There's also the Harco fortress as well, and this also applies to Arrakis and Harco Village. So as we get here, you'll see again it will come in for a zone change, and it goes green, which is guild peace, no combat. So not only is it PvP, you can't even pull out your weapons, you can't fire any weapons, you can't use any of your abilities, you can't even select your vehicle backup tool. So if I'm to land on here and I get out, you can't select the vehicle backup tool. So if you're going to park your Thopter outside of this but still in this area to run in here and do something, and a sandstorm comes, you can't pick it up. The same with your sand bike. So be aware of the limitations when you're in the green, yellow and red areas and what they mean. Okay, we're on the last couple of things now that we want to talk about, and the next one is the world map. So to access the world map, you will need an ornithopter. Doesn't matter which one, but any ornithopter will do. What you're looking for is you're looking to fly out the edge of the map. So here we are up in the shield wall region. It can be quite difficult to get out. You're looking for the gaps in the wall where you're going to fly out. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to fly out onto the world map. This is the second way that you can get into Arrakis and Harco Village without having to use an ornithopter pilot, when it means you can get to those places for free. So here we go. It's a bit of a interesting way of getting out. You'll see this blue wall appear, you crash into it and you go to the world map. This is also how you access the deep desert. So you're now on the world map. You basically left mouse button to point and click where you want to move. However, it also might want to track things. So you go, I want to get to Arrakis. How do I get there? Well, you click on Arrakis here. Spacebar will now track the location, and you can now see on the right hand side of the Thopter we've got this arrow. Now of course that arrow will move depending on where you're going, but that arrow tells you how to get to Arrakis. Now there are also two bars on your Thopter here, and you can see one is water, one is fuel. they will deplete as you fly around the world map. Now you will see these water and fuel deposits. If you just sit on it, automatically the water will go back up, and the same with the fuel. Now, I say you can get to the deep desert. You can also get to some of the story locations there as well. So we're going to fly back to Arrakis. And as you come back, fly back to Haga Basin. As you come back to Haga Basin, you can see these little segments around Haga Basin. You can choose what part of the map you want to enter Haga Basin in. So there are also times you can use this where you can fly out of the northern edge of the map, fly round, and then come in the bottom edge of the map, and that can be quicker than flying the entire length of Haga Basin, particularly if you're doing things in the radiation area. So you could fly in to Shield here. You don't enter radiation straight away, but you could fly into Shield here, pick up the Jasmium, fly back out, and if your base is up in the north, fly around the map and come back in here, and you're back into your base. One of the things to remember, particularly if you're coming in on the southern, western or eastern edges of the map, is that when you come in, you don't come in flying, which is a bit of a problem. You actually come in on the ground. Your Thopter's on the ground and you're outside of it. So you're going to see here, when we load in, it can take a bit of time to load in. Here you go. So you're on the ground. Now, it's no problem when you're in the northern area, but when you're in the southern areas, and particularly out on the sides or right in the south, you will be on open sand, and Dave the Worm will be running around, so you need to get in your Thopter really quickly. Also, you do need to pay attention when you come in, because there have been cases where people have come in and they found their Thopter and themselves on quicksand. So you need to jump in your Thopter really quickly and take off. So really, really be on the ball when going in and out of the world map, particularly into Haga Basin, so that you don't find yourself on quicksand. So world map, incredibly useful. Get it. That's why a Thopter becomes so important. It does allow you to get between the social hubs for free, and also access the deep desert, of course, which is where the final tier of materials are to get that T6, both machinery and gear and weapons. And here we are onto our final tip, the final thing I wish I knew before I started playing the game, which is the customization stuff which you acquire either through Twitch drops or by playing through the game. So first up, building skins. So if we come to, if you look at the base here, you can see we've got these type of walls which you won't have seen before. These are from the Atreides faction set. When you go to build something, you'll now be able to select the Atreides symbol at the top, and you'll have access to all of that. You cannot change the skin on a basic wall. You will have to destroy it and rebuild it with the new version of the wall. Personal customization. So if you come here, you go to customization at the back, and you can click on weapons. So you can select, you got your weapon equipped here. There's currently no skins available, but you can change the colors of the weapon here, and then back to normal. The same for the melee weapons, you can change them here and so on, and then you can change also the colors of your armor. So if we go down to what we're wearing, which is the mercenary armor here, we've got the different colors down the bottom, so you can change them as you want. But we've also unlocked skins as we've progressed through the game, so you can change it to any look you want. I'm actually using the Atreides heavy helmet, and the same for the rest of the gear with the Mauler swatch. But you can do that at any time once you've unlocked these items. And rather than having to go in and out all the time, actually down here is an easy way of doing all your gear at once. Helmet, then the chest, then the legs, gloves, boots, and you're done. And it's an easy way of making sure that you have the look that you want. And you can mix and match as well, so you don't have to have everything the same. You can mix and match. The final bit of customization you can do is on your vehicles. So, I need to go get my welding torch. Do I have a welding torch here? There we go. So we take our welding torch, And when you select it, you've got your normal assemble, your repair, but you've also got a customize area. So if we take a look here at our Ornithopter, we have unlocked the Atreides Ornithopter variant. So you've got that, and you can click and you can change it. So there you go. This is a normal Ornithopter. That's how it normally looks. And you just come over here, you click it once, and you get the Atreides one. And there's a Harkonnen as well. The other thing you've got are the swatches, where you can change the color. So if you come here and you go, oh, I want to change that to green, you click it, and that's now green. So you can actually make your own swatch by choosing different parts of the Thopter. However, if you want a unified swatch, you don't want to click on all the individual items of the vehicle. What you do is you select the color you want, and if you press and hold the mouse button, it will apply it to all. So the whole vehicle will then have the same swatch. So something else to remember. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen, that is the 20 things I wish I knew before I started the game. I'm sure there's many other things. It's a big game, there's lots going on. If you've got any suggestions that you think players who are coming into the game should know before they start, please put it in the comments down below. Love to hear what else you guys think are some of the most important tips for players to start playing the game. You've been watching The Ghost Owl, and I'll see you all very, very soon.